Ciao ragazzi, oggi facciamo l'imperfetto, or the imperfect, which is another past tense that we'll learn. You already know the passato prossimo, and now we'll learn the imperfect, which we use to express habitual actions, states of being in the past, and weather and time. So a habitual action, what I mean by habitual action is something you did multiple times in the past. It's not, it happened many times, not just the one time. The example I used to read a book every week. So something, a lot of times when you say I used to or I was, it's telling you have to use the imperfect. And how you would say that is leggevo un libro ogni settimana, ma adesso non ho tempo. Okay? Next we have states of being in the past. So a physical, mental, or emotional state. Like I was tired yesterday, I was sad. You would say, like yesterday I felt so tired. Ieri mi sentivo stanchissimo. Or you could also say, you could also just use essere for that. Ieri ero molto stanco. It doesn't matter which way. I meant to hide that. So we have weather and time. So whenever you want to describe the weather in the past, you're always going to use the imperfect. So if I want to say it was nice out yesterday, I'm going to say faceva bel tempo ieri. And when I mean time, if you literally want to say what time it was when something happened in the past, you use the imperfect. Like if you want to say it was 3 o'clock yesterday when she arrived, you would say erano le 3 quando lei è arrivata. So the example for the weather I have here is it rained yesterday. You would say pioveva ieri, just like that. The thing with the imperfect is you only need the one word. You don't need a helping verb like we did in the passato prossimo. So for actually forming the imperfect, it's one of the easier tenses to do. So all you have to do is drop the re of the verb and add these endings. Vo, vi, va, vamo, vate, vanno. Notice there is no I here. It's not viamo, it's vamo. And that can get a little tricky for some people. So here we have andare. And usually andare is an irregular verb, but here it isn't. You'll find that a lot of irregular verbs just conjugate normally with the imperfect. So it's andavo, andavi, andava, andavamo, andavate, andavano. And then, of course, what would an Italian be without the irregulars? But there are very few irregulars with the imperfect. So the important ones are dire, bere, and fare, which all you have to do is put this root, the D-I-C-E for dice, and then add your regular ending. So dicevo, dicevi, diceva, dicevamo, dicevate, dicevano. Same for bere, bevevo would be the io form, and fare, facevo. It's very easy as long as you remember that root. The only super irregular one is essere. It doesn't follow any of the rules. So you'll see it here. Ero, eri, era, eravamo, eravate, erano. Be careful. A lot of people get mixed up right here. Ero, eri, era, that's easy. Eravamo, eravate, erano. Okay? Okay, so let's try a little practice. Go ahead and pause the video and try these out on a piece of paper. And now I will show you the answer. So I was sad yesterday. It's a state of being, so you have to use the imperfect. So you would say ero triste ieri, or you could also say mi sentivo triste ieri. If you remember the reflexives, to feel, mi sentivo triste. This is like super nice way to say it. I would be very impressed if you use it this way. Next, when I was little, I used to fall asleep at 6. Used to, it's like should be alarms going off in your head. Whenever you say used to and was, you have to think imperfetto. So, quando ero piccola, or piccolo if you're a boy, Mi addormentavo alle 6. Okay? So mi addormentavo, again, that's a reflexive. Next, she used to live in Italy, but now she lives in Winchester. So you can say viveva, or if you want to use abitava, that's fine, in Italia, ma adesso vive, not viva, vive, be careful with that, or abita a Winchester. So you'll see, we have the imperfect here, viveva in Italia, ma adesso, but now we have a change, of tense right here. So we're going from the imperfect right into the present. Now she lives in Winchester. So with the imperfect, now we know all these tenses. You're going to see a mix of the imperfect, passato prossimo, presente. So we have to be careful. And the last one, they used to teach German, insegnavano tedesco in liceo, ma adesso no. You could leave it like that, but now they don't. Adesso no. Or if you want to get fancy, you could also say, ma adesso non lo fanno. They don't do it, which is a direct object pronoun. So, bonus points if you remembered that. Okay, next. Okay, pause the video again and try these out. So let's go over the answers. It was nice out yesterday. Right away we're talking about the weather, so we have to use the imperfect. Faceva bel tempo ieri. Next, I used to not go to the market regularly, but now I go every Sunday. Andavo, oh wait, I did actually end up changing this. So it should have said, I actually wanted to change this. Non andavo al mercato regolarmente, ma adesso vado ogni domenica. Once again, imperfetto here and presente here. Next one, we used to live together, but now he lives in Rome. Vivevamo insieme or abitavamo, either or are fine. Ma adesso vive a Roma. So present tense. Remember, a Roma, it's a city. You have to use a. You all used to go swimming at the beach when you were young. Nuotavate alla spiaggia quando eravate giovani. You could use voi here if you wanted to. Alla spiaggia quando eravate giovani. Make sure that you change that ending because you're talking to you all, so it's plural. And the last one, when I was 5, I was a chatterbox, which I did, I forgot to write that before. Oops. Where is it? Eccolo. Okay, so quando avevo 5 anni ero una chiacchierona, which is not a word that you should know. I just threw it in there. But be careful, when I was 5, you can't use essere here. Remember, in Italian, when you're saying your age, you use avere. If I'm going to say I am 25 years old, I have to say io ho 25 anni. Okay, so if I'm saying in the past, what age I was in the past, I have to use avere in the imperfect. So quando avevo 5 anni, and then ero una chiacchierona, I was. Okay? Alright, moving right along. Now we have to talk about the l'imperfetto con il passato prossimo. So when we're trying to figure out when to use the imperfect in passato prossimo, it can be pretty tricky. There's no 100% definite rules when we're talking about the imperfect versus the passato prossimo. There's always going to be that one weird one, or you're not going to understand why, and that's okay. You just kind of have to live with it. It's a struggle that you will live with the rest of your life. But we'll do our best to establish the rules. So first, let's just look at the differences. So we have the imperfect, which is only one word, does not use a helping verb like the passato prossimo, which does use 2 words, uses essere or avere as a helping verb. The imperfetto ends in vo, the vo, viva, vamo, vate, vanno, and the passato prossimo ends in atto, utto, itto, or if there are more irregulars with different endings. And then the imperfetto expresses things usually that happened more than once in the past, habitual actions, whereas passato prossimo expresses finished actions in the past. So it happened one time and it was done and you move along. Okay? Okay, so these are all our general rules for the imperfect. Time and weather in the past is telling time or describing the weather. A state of being, saying you didn't feel well, he was sad, we were mad, stuff like that. That's a state of being. Description, you'll actually see the imperfect a lot in stories, fairy tales, and stuff like that. Like actually, if you want to say once upon a time, you would say c'era una volta. That means once upon a time. Get it back on the screen. You'll see that a lot. And then habitual actions, like we said, that's the main one. Things that happened a lot or many times in the past. And you'll also see two actions that are happening at the same time, side by side. As in, while I was talking, she was listening. I don't know. That's a weird example, but it works. And then we have the passato prossimo, so finish action, and the key is it's used with specific time expressions. When I say that, I mean like ieri sera, l'anno scorso, 2 settimane fa. It's really setting up the sentence, and then it just happened that one time. Alright, so when we have them together, the best example when you're using them at the same time is when one action was happening and then was interrupted by another. Our example is, we were eating dinner when the phone rang. So one action was happening, you're going to use the imperfect. So we were eating dinner. It's kind of like you're setting up a scene. So mangiavamo cena quando il telefonato ha squillato. So you have mangiavamo in the imperfect, and then the phone rang. It interrupted that action. Someone had to get up and get the phone, so then you have to use the passato prossimo. Alright, so go ahead and give these a try. I will say that not all of them are going to use the passato prossimo and imperfect together. So you have to figure out using the rules we just talked about. Go ahead and pause the video and give it a shot. Okay, now let's go over them. So we were reading when someone yelled. Leggevamo quando qualcuno ha gridato. So we have an ongoing action. We were reading and then someone yelled and interrupted. Next one, you were sleeping when I came to the house. You all, sorry. I would say dormivi or dormivate quando sono venuta alla casa. So once again, action was happening when it was interrupted by the passato prossimo. Next one, he was walking to school when I saw him. Camminava a scuola quando l'ho visto, or l'ho visto. This was tricky because I did put a direct object pronoun in there. Sorry. And the last one, yesterday you all did your work while I corrected. This one, what did I do? Sorry, someone did this. Facevate. See, even I make mistakes. Okay, so you all did your homework while I corrected. Ieri facevate I vostri compiti mentre correggevo. So you have two actions happening at the same exact time. Okay, so they're side by side. Nothing was interrupted. They were just happening at the same time. So you have to use the imperfect on both. I will say right now, mentre, you must know what mentre means. It means while. So I want you... Oops, that failed. I want you to remember that mentre means while, because it's not a word that I'll put on your word bank or not word bank, on your vocab list, but it's a very important word to know. Also, especially when we're talking about the imperfect and passato prossimo, okay? Alright, this was a do now, so go ahead and fill it in. Now, I just want to practice. You need to remember what your house verbs are. Which ones use essere avere, or when you are using house verbs, make sure that you're changing the endings, etc. So go ahead, pause, fill it in, and then we'll go over the answers. Okay, and here are your answers. This one... Alright, this one I did not fill in the answers, but you can give them a try, and if you want the answer key, I can send it to you. So they're just these sentences here. Okay? I hope this was helpful. This is the end, and good luck. Thank you.